subject in the book and also in my research is the historiography, which means I dealt with the way how science dealt with the Holocaust that happened in Yugoslavia, and also how historical science in Yugoslavia dealt with the Holocaust in general, and Holocaust, of course, that happened in Yugoslavia. So it's, as anything that concerns Yugoslavia, it's both fascinating and unpredictable. So while in the years before the war, the situation was more or less the same in Yugoslavia as in Europe, which means that Jews were feeling, and everybody felt that something big is going on. There was an important lack of scientific works about growing anti-Semitism and specificity of Nazism. Second, during the war, historiography of the Holocaust in Yugoslavia differs in one important thing with the historiography abroad, even in Poland or Soviet Union or whatever. That is a lack of the memoirs, diaries, autobiographies written during the war. While we never got simply a diary of Anna Frank in Yugoslavia. The third phase is very similar to the general Holocaust science development, which means that in the years after the war, a state commission was established. There was a specific part of commission that dealt with the crimes against the Jews. More or less in 1948, all that material was gathered. The black book with the crimes was published, and almost in every European country one can find similar development. But then happened something that changed the whole picture, and that is, of course, goodbye that was told by Yugoslavians to Stalin. And from then on, everything in Yugoslavia became completely specific. So, both in the general history and in the historiography of the Holocaust. While in other countries, which means Israel, Europe, and the United States mostly, this development went in one direction, which means slow the development of a specific criteria, publishing of the general books about the Holocaust, finishing with Raoul Hilberg's a great synthesis, the destruction of European Jews. In Yugoslavia, the Holocaust history was simply captivated or arrested by history of the struggle, anti-fascist struggle, which means it was possible to write against the Jews only within the quite clean and clear frame of the fight against the fascists, of the Yugoslav peoples and nationalities, who knows how one can translate all this terminology that we have in the socialist time. So what happened? If you want to know something about the Ra Battalion, which was the only unit made of the Yugoslav Jews, one should go only to the book about the 7th Division of Banja, and he was very happy if he found a special chapter or sub-chapter that there was someone's Jewish battalion short time in that division. It was impossible to publish a book about the Ra Battalion, except, and that is things when I think our friends from former Soviet Union will agree, that is a big difference. It was possible if the book will stay within the Jewish community. Which means Jewish Historical Museum had a right to research Holocaust, to have archive about Holocaust, to publish about Holocaust, to participate in to make scientific events about Holocaust, as long as it happens in the street King Peter I in Belgrade, in the space that belonged to Jewish community. Any effort to step out was simply impossible. So that is historiography. But something also quite unique happened in the other place in the field of culture, as it was very fashionable in the 80s. We can say that in Yugoslavia we had two narratives about the Holocaust. One was in historiography, and it was completely arrested, as I said, with the historiography of the anti-fascist struggle. But with the small exception within Jewish community, the other narrative was in the Yugoslav culture and was one of the richest in the world. Unbelievable. But the most significant Yugoslav writers wrote about Holocaust. Emir Kusturica made his first movie about the Holocaust, Bife Titanica, and according to Andrić's short story. And so on and so on. We had a Kat Setnik published in Yugoslavia in several languages. First movie about Anna Frank's diary was made in Yugoslavia in 1959. And it was not done according to, let's say, Eastern Bloc model, but believe it or not, according to Broadway, off and off Broadway play that was made in New York. So Yugoslavia was quite unique. One could find a Saul Friedlander's book about Pius XII and the Third Reich, translated 1 year after its publishing in France. The books of Eugen Kogon about SS universe of camps. But there was one thing that was visible after the year that Tito died. It signed also new phase in the Holocaust research, which is also specificity of Yugoslavia, which means that in the 80s, suddenly the subject of the genocide popped up. But then it was visible one big problem, that historiography, since it didn't tell the Holocaust, didn't develop the theoretical base for the research of genocide on the Holocaust. And one person, in fact, imposed himself into the main theoretician of the Holocaust, and it was Vladimir Dediev. But the problem was that Vladimir Dediev was a member of Russell Tribunal, and for Russell Tribunal was developed, Jean-Paul Sartre developed a new definition of genocide, which completely denied Lemkin's definition, broadened widely, including a cultural genocide, economical genocide, all kinds of genocide. So in Yugoslavia in the 80s, everything became genocide. Yeah. So we had all kinds of genocides, books published about all kinds of impossible genocides. And it was, but good thing was that in those 10 years, we published a lot. The good example of that years is a book of Milan Bulajic, Suđenje Andrija Artuković, etc., etc. And what he did, he went through that unbelievable pile of the socialist historiography about the Second World War, and managed to cut out everything that was concerned with genocide in the independent state of Croatia. And he put it in 4 books with some 2,000 pages, approximately. But the problem is that he did it without any criteria. He just put it, we call it in Yugoslavia, I think still everybody, gypsy bag. He just took it and put it there without any criteria. And it took probably 20 years after to realize what is really useful for scientific research and what is not. And then we come to Macedonia. What is important to know about Macedonia is that Macedonia was a slight difference within the historiography between 1948 and 1980, which means that somehow in Macedonia was possible within the mainstream historiography a little bit to write about the Jewish tragedy and extermination of Jews, i.e. Holocaust. So several works, like Alexander Matkovsky's History of Jews, has a large portion about Holocaust. Matkovsky even published it already in the 3rd issue of Yad Vashem Studies, whole this part about the Macedonian Jewry and the Holocaust. After that, we had some scientific works that were published in the mainstream publications, all the things that were quite impossible in the rest of Yugoslavia. Why? folder, we can discuss it. But I think that it is a good solution. Is that there was an important thing in Macedonia is that locals didn't participate a lot into the process of extermination. It was a German idea and a plan. Bulgarian helped with the deportations, and then German finalized the process. So the role of the local perpetrators, whistlings, bystanders was minimized. And what it was not possible in the central Yugoslavia, it happened in the margins, let's say, if Yugoslav history. So we're in Macedonia, where also, the struggle against fascism was not so, big thing as it was in Bosnia, for example, where the main events in the war took place, at least in Yugoslav historiography and movies. So, and then we had the 90s. What happened in the 90s is quite simple. Simply, Yugoslavia had to open to meet, or former Yugoslavs had to open, had to confront the real historiography of the Holocaust, and simply manage it very slowly, I have to say, partly because of the wars, partly because of the economical situation, partly because of the one situation that is quite clear. In a big country, we had the criteria were pretty high, and to be a mainstream historian was not possible for everybody. In the small countries, they had to establish their own criteria. Same in the football, we didn't get a lot from them until recently. With the new people as Milan Ristovic, Ivo Goldstein, or Milan Koljanin, we finally got new generation, and that generation gave a birth to, let's say, generation of people who wrote main part of this book, which is one of the most important qualities of this book. Namely, Macedonia was, as Krinka said, in the 80s, one of the rare parts of former Yugoslavia where the mainstream publisher published a large collection of the, documents about the Holocaust, which is Vera Vesković-Vangeli and Žemila Kolonomos. And obviously, it took time that a new generation will arise and publish the book that shows that really that Macedonia was a different part of Yugoslavia concerning the Holocaust historiography, and it is, we can say it even today, because we do not have such a book about Slovenia. Of course, we don't have it about Montenegro. And about Bosnia, we don't have anything about Bosnia, because it depends which one we are speaking of, because the one will deny what the other part is doing. And of course, we have some much more about Croatia, and in Croatia and in Serbia. And I think that's the most important thing with this book, which is a new generation of people, a new, let's say, a lot of new articles here, several of them with older, and it's a main contribution to the Holocaust history, which today functions not anymore as a part of solely Yugoslav or former Yugoslav historiography, but absolutely as a part of the historiography of the Holocaust, as it simply came out in the world from 1945 up until today. So that's what I have. And I have two things to object here. Still, one thing is that this problem that Mr. Dediar caused is still alive and kicking. So, which means that our young historians, even today, are still bred on the consequences of the mess made by Vladimir Dediar. And an article here about the problems of differences of genocide, Holocaust, would be very helpful. And especially because in the meantime we have a new addition that we also are discussing here these days, which means a Roma Holocaust. Is it Holocaust? Is it genocide? Is it massacre? Whatever. And I think some survey or overview of the problems of the term Holocaust would be very helpful here. And second, and it is something that maybe we will do in the future, it's something that I also said at the beginning of our work here, which is an article that would cover whole this region from Salonika, let's say, to the southern Serbia, Pirot, Thrace, and maybe Albania. Albania would be the second thing, but that's why we are here. Thank you.